welcome to a baseball-loving episode of EP Daily. Today on the show, Mars gets wet in the rundown.
Plus, we celebrate the MLB postseason with a closer look at MLB 15, the show.
And then Ben and Jose have got their bases covered with their review of Super Mega Baseball Extra Innings. Also coming up, Vic, Scott, and I share our favorite baseball video games. We have a classic review of one of the worst baseball games.
Stunning graphics absorb you in the MLB experience live.
And so much more today on EP Daily. Brought to you by EB Games. I'm your host, Marissa Roberto, bringing you the latest in everything cool every single day. There's virtually no reason for you to miss what we're about to show you in the rundown. We're getting a better idea of how much it will cost to enter the world of virtual reality. Palmer Luckey, designer of the Oculus Rift, has revealed that the device will cost more than $350 US. Whoa. Although the Oculus Rift and several other big VR devices like the PlayStation VR and HTC Vive are set to roll out early next year, manufacturers have been reluctant to say how much they'll cost. VR is expected to open up a whole new world of possibilities for gaming, not to mention other forms of entertainment like movies and sports, and even everyday life stuff like education and medicine. Let's just hope it's affordable.
Oh my God.
Last week, NASA revealed that they've discovered evidence that liquid water flows on Mars during the summer months. Although we already knew there was ice on the red planet, the fact that there's also water in its liquid state is a big deal because it significantly increases the chances of microscopic life being there as well. Now the question is, how will NASA find and study any possible Martian life? The Curiosity rover has all the right equipment, but it's not sterile and might be carrying microbes from Earth that would contaminate its findings. There's also the philosophical conundrum about whether or not it's okay for humans to interfere with alien life, even if it is microscopic. This is the kind of thing our species will need to figure out now that we're capable of exploring other worlds. The next Mars rover, called ExoMars, will be launched by the European and Russian space agencies in 2018. That's it for the rundown. Now look who it is to join me. It is starting first base and my baseball-loving friend, Scott C. Jones. Scott, you're supposed to catch it.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about Mars.
You know, we just saw Mars recently in the Matt Damon movie, The Martian, directed by our old friend Ridley Scott. I think the idea of some other organic life on other planets, especially Mars, which I feel like has been so central to so much, so many of the fictions, you know, science fiction, so many fantasy worlds that we've been in before. I think it's very compelling to think that there might be some creatures up there somehow using that ice. Maybe they're building a spaceship. Maybe they want to visit us. Maybe they are watching us now. I hope they are.
There's nothing.
Blue Jays fans.
No, there's nothing like that on Mars. There's just probably some kind of tiny microbial things that we might be able to find in real life because there's water now. There's water, which means there's life. I'm just terrified of the whole thing because if we can go to them, that means they can come to us.
Yeah, but I'm excited to meet our alien friends should they decide to come down and visit us. No, I applaud science. I wish I was smart enough to be a scientist to make these kinds of discoveries, but I'm only smart enough to just do this TV show every day. That's it. I'm certainly not as smart as Palmer Luckey is. Boy, that guy is really making some interesting choices, and now they made a choice about the price point for the Oculus. I think $350, that sounds about right to me.
Really?
Yeah, it does.
Oh man, anything
It's an incredible piece of technology.
Yeah, I know, but you want to get this into every home. I feel like the price needs to go down for that reason, and that's why I feel like I can't even really be an early adopter for this. Even though I will be for the show for sure, but if I was just living my everyday life, not hosting this television show, I feel like I wouldn't invest the money.
The original Atari 2600, back when it originally debuted, was about $450. So I feel like $350 is a lot of money for sure, but I think that's just about right for where the Oculus should be at launch. And for you got to start clipping your Oculus coupons.
Yeah, because maybe I can play an Oculus game with baseball since this is a baseball-loving episode. So Jones, let us go now to our review of MLB 15, the show.
Let us.
Do you hear that, Jones? I think that was the first crack of the bat for the baseball season. Yes, it is in full swing, and that means we have a new baseball game. You're already really excited about this, I know. You did not want to do this review with me.
Was that the crack of the bat? I thought you farted.
That would be amazing if my farts actually sounded like that. But no, we were talking about MLB 15, the show. You and I played the PS4 versions, and I just played MLB 14, the show with Vic last year, and it doesn't feel like a year has passed already, and already we're getting another game.
Well, it always kind of feels that way in the life cycle of sports games. There's always a new Madden before I've even completely had enough of the old Madden, and that's just kind of the world we live in now. But, you know, I've been impressed with the show series. Sony San Diego, they do a great job, and I think they've done a great job this year, and you can really see them. As soon as you load up this game, you can really see that they're comfortable on the PS4 now. This game looks amazing.
It does look amazing. I love the stadiums. I love going to all the stadiums and looking at them and maybe feeling like I was really there, because it really does give you that feeling. You can almost smell the peanuts and the Cracker Jacks. I almost feel like we could devote so many hours of our life to this game and still not feel like we've played enough MLB 15, the show, to talk about it. There's so much happening here, but the main thing is that you can take your franchise player, you can take your Road to the Show player, and whatever you've done last year saves over. And so that means if you've built him up and he's actually a starting shortstop for the Mets, he's a starting shortstop for the Mets this year.
We've got year-to-year saves now, which is a real godsend for people who are into this game, because you don't have to start all the way from the beginning. You can keep your dream alive. You know, my question to you I have a couple of questions. One is, are you happy with the box cover? I know there's a box cover in Canada, and there's a box cover in the States. You feel okay with the guy is it Yasiel?
Yasiel Puig.
Yasiel Puig. You think he belongs on the cover?
For America, yes.
What is the stadium the Blue Jays play in? And does it look exactly like that in the game?
Stadium?
Yeah, I don't know. This is Roger. Every stadium in Canada is Rogers Stadium.
Those are the only questions?
Those are good questions.
Okay, well, let's talk about the online play here, because I think that's really important when you're playing a sports game and you want to be competitive, because last year it was really wonky. It didn't work all the time, and I feel like this year it's the exact same thing. I was trying to play in the Diamond Dynasty mode just for a quick game online with someone, and I was having a really good time only because of all the glitches that were happening. I had players running into each other, like ghosting through one another.
That sounds exciting.
It was very exciting. Just really terrible fielding things that were happening with the other team, so I was always rounding the bases because he couldn't get the ball. But that's not really the way the game is supposed to be played. You're actually supposed to implement some skill here, and I couldn't do that online. But then again, there were some moments where I did have a good game online, so it's really hit or miss.
Yeah. I had a little bit of trouble online too when I was trying to do the home run derby. That's what I always loved, the home run derby, so I went right there, and people kept joining my room and then leaving, and then it just kept going, and it kept saying 20 seconds, then 22 seconds, then 26 seconds. I just thought, you know, listen, I got to get on with my life here. But you know, I'm playing this game. I loaded up. I'm not a huge baseball fan, I got to be honest. I know you are, and this is really your area of expertise. I had a great time watching the World Series last year. It was great to see all the stadiums.
Sure, but that's real life.
And that's real life. No, but I'm saying it's great in the game to see those stadiums. They look amazing. There's directional hitting in the game now, but I always thought there was directional hitting. I always would push the stick that I was using. Why are you laughing at me? I didn't know.
I'm laughing because I thought the same thing. I thought that I was actually guiding the ball to where I wanted it to go whenever I would hit it, but apparently now it's been implemented because it wasn't before, so who knew? That's the thing. With these games, because they come out annually, you can't really tell. You can only really tell if you play this game religiously all the time. No, you know what? I don't. I'm not into sports games like this. I love MLB. It's my favorite sports game for sure, but I'm not into it. I don't play it religiously like a lot of people should if you're going to pick up a game like this. So if you've already picked up MLB 14, the show, I don't, and you don't play it often, if you're just a casual gamer with this franchise, I don't really see the reason in picking up 15, the show, unless you're really into and you really want the roster updates. There's a lot there. There's a lot there for the money, and if you're going to play it every day, then you're going to get your money's worth. You just have to play it every day, though. You gotta squeeze it.
That's right. What are you going to give it?
Squeeze it. Oh, baseball reference.
What are you going to give it?
It gets an 8.
It's a 7 for me.
Oh man, if there's ever a time to pick up that game and play it, it's right now. October baseball is upon us.
October baseball is upon us, but unfortunately we have to take a timeout. Do they have those in baseball?
Well, not really, only if they're reviewing a play.
Up next, our friends Ben and Jose are here with Super Mega Baseball Extra Innings after this.
Craig Duncan, studio head at Rare. We just announced Sea of Thieves, our new IP on Rare Replay. Favorite Star Wars moment? Controversially, I love the pod racing. absolutely loved the pod racing in episode 1. Don't like the rest of the movie. The pod racing is freaking awesome though. Guilty pleasure, love that.
Little confession for you, every one of these people in the Star Wars memories I want to be friends with, and Craig Duncan is the latest. Great job, Craig.
All right, well, here are two people that we are friends with. Ben and Jose have some baseball action for us. Super Mega Baseball Extra Innings. Here we go.
Ben and I are heading back out to the ballpark, this time for Super Mega Baseball Extra Innings, Ben, we played a lot of baseball games. How does Super Mega Baseball Extra Innings hold up?
It holds up really well, Jose. I was surprised. Never played this game when it was on the PS4. That's where it started. And this is arcade baseball, and it's rare to see arcade baseball. Really, all we get these days out of baseball games is MLB The Show, which is pretty much the simulation baseball game you're going to play. And you know what? I found it. I think I found the arcade baseball game I was waiting for, because Super Mega Baseball Extra Innings on the Xbox One is super fun. I had a really good time with this.
You know what? It is good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be another RBI baseball fail.
Right.
And I jump in, and you're like, oh, you have all these crazy different teams. You got the sirloins. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to have sirloin.
I was the sirloins, too. Take the home run hitters, right? Of course you're going to take the home run hitters.
There's like, these guys hit home runs, and there's like, these guys smash home runs. They smash the leather off the ball. You're like, all right, let's.
That's my team. Home runs.
I actually went with the moose. I tried the sirloins, and I saw you were the sirloin, so I went with the moose.
How'd that go?
Because they had a whole lot. They had some slammers. I played it because they have this thing called ego, which is basically essentially the difficulty level of the game. And I didn't realize that at first, so I jumped on a game like, all right, it starts at 15, sounds high, and it's above 10, so it's got to be kind of difficult. Man, and I just started smashing the ball. My first game was like 17-0.
28-1.
I'm like, all right, I think we should boost the old ego. And when you start boosting it up, it's like, this is kind of medium. It's getting a little harder. It's going to get tough.
In the lower ego settings, almost every pitch can be hit out of the park, but as you start cranking it up, you start really having to connect well to hit these home runs. And this is a surprisingly deep, well-nuanced game, considering how crappy it kind of looks. I really, though, fell in love with just the core gameplay. The pitching mechanics, the swinging mechanics, even the fielding works really well. It's just that you feel like you have great control over everything. Well, the fielding is the one problem.
I was going to say, the fielding is my one issue where sometimes you feel like your guy should be able to make it, or he just like...
They move slowly, and you really have to up their speed a lot to be able to like race after the ball and dive and catch it. Often they're kind of like waddling around and doing this thing and kind of...
Like, I got this one. Yeah, this one.
I'm really impressed by how this game just manages to kind of get to the core of what you like about baseball video games. Yeah. It's the hitting, it's the pitching, even striking guys out in kind of the way you would throw a curveball or where you put it or how to line the thing up to get a good one. Oh, yeah. There are no steroids. That would have made this game better. Although, there are steroids because there's an entire boost model here where as you're playing, especially through the season where it's just really where this comes into play, you hire different trainers, you hire different gear people who can equip all of your players with different items and different boosts that'll make them stronger.
You gotta keep your mojo high, man. We saw in Austin Powers, you don't have your mojo.
That affects their confidence and how well they're playing. There are a lot of little meters and things to deal with for a game that seems on the surface like you're just gonna push buttons and hit home runs. It's out of left field. Yeah. I did not see this game.
Home run.
I did not see this game coming. 8.5 out of 10.
8.5. Oh, that's out of here!
That is a hammer long ballo.
Boy, those guys had a lot of fun with Extra Innings. I wonder if Ben loves it as much as he loves the bigs, too.
Interesting you bring that up. When we come back, Scott, Marissa, and I are going to be talking about our favorite baseball game, so go away. Welcome back to Electric Playground. Swing, bada, 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 swing, bada. It's never a better time of year to celebrate baseball than beautiful fall like this. And congratulations to the Toronto Blue Jays. They're having an incredible year. Yes, Canada's team, go Blue Jays. We are going to celebrate our favorite baseball games of all time. Marissa, Scott, and myself. I'm going to start. I think we have to give a special shout out to Sega and their legacy in baseball, starting with the World Series games on Genesis. But the big move into 3D on the Sega Saturn with World Series 98 was remarkable. I remember reviewing that game with Tommy back in the day, and my mind was completely blown because the animations look so incredibly realistic and lifelike, and you just got a sense of depth and perspective and lots of flashy, hand-drawn, but still artistically rendered beautiful 3D animations. They didn't have replays. You couldn't trade your players, but the core fundamentals of playing baseball, one of the first games to really exemplify that. I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for the World Series games, which were, of course, the predecessor to the 2K games later on. But World Series, yeah, fond memories. Over to you, Scott.
Thanks, Vic. Oh, wow. High heat on that one, buddy. Listen, my favorite baseball game of all time has to be the Big Series, the Bigs 1 and the Bigs 2. Ben Silverman and I, you know, we're baseball game aficionados, and we both agree that this is some of the most exciting, most thrilling baseball game anywhere, ever in the history of video games. The thing that I always love about sports games, and I feel like Madden gets this wrong and the NBA series both get this wrong, is they're a little bit too literal. They ask gamers to learn too much about the real sport. Forget the real sport. Let's have something crazy. Let's have something over the top. And the Big Series did this better than anyone ever has before. It's kind of like a combination of pinball and baseball. The game was made right here in Vancouver, British Columbia. I love this game, but you know what? Let's check in with our reliever, Marissa Roberto. Marissa.
Thanks, boys. A nice throw there, Scott. Listen, I've got the best video game that contains baseball ever made. It is MVP 2005. Yes, I'm talking about the one with Manny Ramirez on the cover. This one just brought me so much joy on my Xbox for so many reasons. Mostly because of the mini games involving pitching and hitting. There's never been anything like it in a video game since, really, in a baseball video game. I really missed those times. It really brought me into a baseball video game in general. That was my first one that I ever really dove into. Pun intended. Even though it has Manny being Manny on the cover, it's okay. It didn't deter me. Of course, wearing that Boston Red Sox batting hat, oh my goodness, all these things that pull me away from the game, it doesn't matter. Honestly, there's so much fun to be had in a mini game. I feel like so many sports games don't have this stuff anymore, and I think it's something to hold on to. If you have it, please go back and play it. If not, you can go to the PC and pick it up because people are modding this thing. Also, it's just a great time to pick up a baseball game in general because yes, it is October baseball. Oh my God, I love the Blue Jays. I love baseball so much. I can't help it. I'm gonna run the bases right now.
Run! It is time now for us to go into the old EP archives and take a look at a Reviews on the Run classic. This stars Victor Lucas and, of course, his friend Tommy Tallarico. They are reviewing a game from 2003. This is High Heat.
We're going to talk about High Heat Baseball 2003 for the PC. What'd you think of this one?
High Heat Baseball 2003 is officially the worst game in existence. The players don't look anything like any of the players. You should be ashamed of yourself. The stadiums are absolutely horrible. Yankee Stadium.
You didn't like the fans?
Looks nothing. The fans in this game, there are no fans. It's literally just one stupid round colored texture map.
All right, here's the deal with High Heat Baseball 2003. High Heat.
If you defend this, I'm going to kick you right in the ding-ding.
I want to tell you, I want to explain the situation here. High Heat Baseball has always been the statistician's baseball game.
I disagree.
This combines that with also a graphical, playable rendition of the sport.
Playable?
This game has always held that sort of distinction, separate from like the All-Star Baseball, the World Series, and the triple plays out there. It has some nice features in there that baseball fans are going to love, but really when you get into the game, it's just not a good playing baseball game.
None of the players' animations look like they do in the real field. Every single baseball game now, when you pick Roger Clemens or you pick Derek Jeter or whoever, they stand like them, they react like them, they do all this stuff. This has none of that whatsoever. One of the biggest things about this game is that the audio.
Oh yeah, the audio is horrible.
No bad. The center, Garrett Anderson.
There's a big Placido Polanco is up.
I was checking our settings on our sound card going, this possibly can't be the sound for this game, and it is. Is hyper-realistic TV-like players and environments? Lie. stunning graphics absorb you in the MLB experience? Lie. This game is ridiculous. Avoid at all costs. Hey, I like Trip Hawkins. I like 3DO. I hope they can do a better job. They obviously can't do a worse one. This game gets a 0.
I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10.
Way too high.
Reviews from now on, I'm just getting in a car and I'm driving away whenever Vic doesn't agree with me. Up next, we've got the Twitter question of the day after this.
If you want more EP, go to our website, epn.tv, for bonus content and full episodes. We're also on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to the super fantastic October Baseball Lovin' episode of EP Daily. We now have the Twitter question of the day. This one comes from David Turner. He is at Victor Made Me. Hey there, buddy. He said, so which Blue Jays player will be on the cover of MLB 16, the show? Very good question. We should note that Okay, it's Kevin Pillar, number one. But every single copy of the show that's sold in Canada does have a Blue Jay player on it, no matter what. But in the States, there's a different player from a different team, depending on who the
What
MVP
about
is.
A-Rod?
No, forget A-Rod. He is out of the picture completely. But I hope that it's Josh Donaldson. I feel like it should be Josh Donaldson.
Yeah.
Just depending on how the postseason plays out, we will see. Do you have a favorite besides Kevin Pillar?
Well,
no, he's just the guy.
He's my favorite, plus A-Rod.
No, A-Rod's terrible.
He's not on the team?
No, listen, if you want to catch up on everything to do with anything baseball or video games or TV shows or movies, you can do that at epn.tv.
And that's it for today's Marissa-directed episode. But coming up tomorrow, we take a closer look at British Forces, which is the latest DLC for Company of Heroes 2. Congratulations, Blue Jays.
That's right.
You are awesome.
Thanks for watching.
EP would like to thank its sponsors, Nintendo, Xbox. EP's mobile coverage is brought to you by Gameloft, makers of Asphalt 8 Airborne, which you can play on your Android or iOS device for free right now.
We want those real elements. I think that's part of Company of Heroes, and part of the process in the British Forces is finding the authenticity, and finding the character, I guess, of the forces and what made them compelling and what made their war experience what it was. And so those are things that we start with. We start with that essence of the British, and how do we continue to kind of inject that into the game and into the gameplay.